let's discuss the joke, the big farce called the SARs, the suspicious activity reporting, the insider self-regulatory farce of how the financial industry is self-regulating. I've been following along these so-called regulatory changes with the financial FinCEN, Financial Criminal Investigation Network of the U.S. Treasury, and how they rely on insider whistleblowers to provide SARs, suspicious activity reports, to the Treasury to regulate money laundering. You know, the big money laundering scams of how they mix all the dirty and the clean money together, and they obfuscate and they hide financial resources amongst dirty narcotics money and terrorist money and human trafficking money and all kinds of organized crime money, and they clean it up by mixing it in with seemingly legitimate business activities, and presto changeo, hocus pocus. Let's not forget hocus pocus. The money is magically cleaned through the subprime predatory mortgage markets of Credit Suisse and Deutsche Bank and J.P. Morgan and all those Lee Farkas and Andy Farkas, Taylor Beat and Whitaker, Doc X, LPS, and let's not forget those slimy little bastards owned by Credit Suisse, Select Portfolio Services, the mortgage servicing presto changeo hocus pocus money laundering activities of inflated billings and completely false billings. And then, of course, you've got all those judicial activities involving the predatory foreclosures, the subprime foreclosures, where hocus pocus, they change all the dirty assets into clean real estate foreclosures. And then, of course, they churn it again and again and again. Now, this is my commentary on the proposed changes to the regulatory scheme for whistleblowers and monitoring money laundering that the FinCEN are currently involved in. It's just nothing but a scam. This is what FinCEN's running past the Congress and the Senate. They don't want to talk about the massive money laundering of the Credit Suisse Deutsche Bank mortgage fiasco with J.P. Morgan and all the others. No, we don't want to talk about how the American people were sucked into their money laundering schemes using these securitized, bundled up mortgages. That's where they laundered a crap load of money. And folks, let's just get real here. You see, Credit Suisse and J.P. Morgan and Deutsche Bank, and their little pal there, Gerald Cugno, from Pioneer, Paramount, and Premier Mortgage Funding. You see, old Jerry Cugno. He was a big New Jersey mobster gangster operator with almost 1,200 mortgage brokerages all over the United States. That's 1,200 offices with 7,500 agents. And got caught with his you-know-what in the door, his pecker. He got caught with his pecker in the door, making up all kinds of fake papers and fraudulent appraisals and every other creative, fraudulent hocus pocus you can think of to suck people into the money laundering operations of Credit Suisse, J.P. Morgan, and Deutsche Bank, Donald Trump's favorite Nazi bankers. And I mean Credit Suisse and Deutsche Bank, Nazi bankers. Now let's get back to these proposed money laundering mechanisms to regulate the industry with this self-regulating, self-policing, suspicious activity reporting. It's a joke. It's a sick, twisted, perverted, fraudulent joke. It's a great big sophism, a great big con. It's a con. And that's for my friends over there at Abracadabra, Red Point, whatever you want to, the Con TV. Bill Black. Are you listening, Bill Black? This idea that Schwecker was only impressed with the three-piece suits and the insider whistleblowers, they're the only ones that were essential. The insider whistleblowers. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you right now, Bill Black, you can take your bar card and your position as a government lawyer and jam it. Because, Bill Black, you didn't get 5 cents in damages for the public that got shafted by the bankster gangster slobs that FDIC, FSLIC, OTS, and OCC, and Treasury, and Postal, and FinCEN were supposed to be regulating with the SEC, the FBI, and the DOJ. Self-regulating, self-policing garbage. And that's why the United States government is massively in debt and circulating all this BS Federal Reserve note, phony baloney crap money, as David Stockman calls it. And the Mises or Mises Institute are very well informed on this paper and ink monetary. Jesus, God Almighty. This paper and ink monopoly game. The monopoly money of the Federal Reserve. And their SARs reports. I'm going to tell you something, America. You have been bullshitted, bamboozled, and buffaloed by the Treasury. That's why the country's been massively robbed and scammed and looted by the bankster gangsters and all their little scummy friends like Gerald Cugno and Paramount Pioneer and Premier Mortgage Funding. And I don't give a damn if you don't like it, Gerald Cugno. Yeah, and Robert Leon Jordan, old federal judge Robert Leon Jordan from Johnson City, Tennessee. What a freaking joke. The massive, unbelievable robbery of Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, HUD, FHA, FMHA, the Veterans Administration, and every damn consumer that got sucked into the financial swindles and the financial games of the last 40 or 50 years in the real estate markets. You want some commentary on your proposed regulatory scheme over there at FinCEN? Your whistleblowing and money laundering operations at FinCEN? Let's take a hard, cold look at how so many American consumers, home buyers, got sucked into the money laundering schemes of Credit Suisse, and the money laundering schemes of JP Morgan Chase, and the money laundering schemes of Deutsche Bank, and a whole bunch of the other ones, from Citibank, yeah, the Clintons, Citibank, I said that correctly, and Wells Fargo, and every other damn Goldman Sachs and Lehman Brothers. You can, and right down the line from the Madison Savings and Loan to Superior Bank, Taylor Bean and Whitaker, WAMU, Countrywide, Ameriquest, the whole damn industry is nothing but a bunch of freaking con jobs. The whole industry. And that's why the American people have had to bail them out, buy them out, cover all their losses. Timothy Geithner, Old Timothy Geithner and the AIG bailout. Gee, I wonder how that one happened. FinCEN. And a message to the Attorney General William Barr and to Christopher Wray. Who gives a damn if Antifa is a psychological, political? Who gives a damn, Christopher Wray? And Bill Barr, this lock in place, lock 'em up, stay in place orders are like slavery. I'll tell you what slavery, William Barr, is being subjected to this farce, the financial regulatory system. What an absolute joke. And it goes back to before. It goes back to before the savings and loan crisis, because it was all that fraud and real estate wheeling and dealing and scheming and scamming like what the Clintons were pulling, and Neil Bush and George Bush and let's see, Hillary and Bill, and I mean the list just goes on from Charlie Keating to the King of Arizona. Yeah, the King of Arizona. The big land fraud swindles of Utah, California, Alaska, Florida, all over this country from Maine to the Poconos, the Carolinas. Texas is a freaking nightmare. You heard that right, Texas. Houston, Dallas, and the whole freaking state is nothing more than a financial it's a freaking circus. It's a circus gone wild. So you want commentary on your money laundering suspicious activity reports over there at FinCEN? Well, I got news for you. What I would do is I would fire everybody that works for FinCEN because they ain't doing their job and they're keeping secrets. They're all upset that the investigative journalists and editors, the IRE, and what they call them there, the Consortium of Investigative Journalists, are going to, reveal to the world how the FinCEN is a farce. It's a joke. It's a joke just like Robert Mueller and Jimmy Comey. The most corrupt FBI agents since William Weld and William Webster, and that jackass Louis Freeh and Ed Meese and Janet Reno and Ashcroft and Alberto Gonzalez from Humble, Texas. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody is wondering who I am. Everybody knows who I am. I'm the guy from Houston, Texas that handed Professor William Black his ass. How about that, Bill Black? Your bar card ain't going to shield you from this one. Yeah. Oh, the best way to rob a bank is to own the holding company, and then, right? The best way to rob a bank is to own the bank and the holding company that owns the holding company, right? Bill Black? I want Bill Black to explain to the world, how many billions of dollars in damages did you recover for the consumers who took it in the shorts? How many consumers, members of the public, Bill Black, did you and your regulators at FSLIC and Office of Thrift Supervision and at FDI, how much money was recovered for the consumers who got shafted, Bill Black? Let's hear those numbers. Boy, I'll tell you what, you talk about the con. Oh, it's a big old con, all right. I sat across the desk from Jim Wright. He was the inside special counsel there in Houston, Texas at the Summit Arena Towers, Bill Black. You remember the old Summit Arena Towers? They're developed and owned by the Powers brothers. Yeah. Mel and Stephen Powers. You remember them, Bill Black? Yeah, down on the East Tex Freeway, 59 South. Out there at, I forget the name of that freaking street it was sitting on there. The Southwest Freeway and Westheimer or something. Richmond Avenue. There you go. It sat on the corner. The Summit Arena Tower, where the Summit Arena sits, Man, I got to tell you what, Bill Black. The con, I'll tell you what the con is. It's FinCEN It's FBI and Department of Justice, because what's being done here is massive amounts of freaking financial resources are being looted and stolen and laundered over to the DNC, the GOP, and the RNC, the ultra right-wing. Well, I tell you what, Donald Trump, you and Deutsche Bank. Donald Trump and Credit Suisse and JP Morgan, Donald Trump. And the big money laundering clowns of the 21st century, Donald Trump. You and Bill Clinton. No wonder you and Bill and Hillary are such marvelous friends. Yeah, you're friends, all right. What do you, oh, God almighty, man. I'll tell you what. Fiat, slavery, they're stinking money. They're stinking paper money. And then, of course, you got their dirt dealing and flipping. And then, of course, they're churning and laundering. They're churning the laundered dirt, the cash for dirt and dirt for cash in all those ADC loans. Come on, Bill Black. Tell everybody about the CRE failures and the ADC loans. My God almighty, Bill, who do you think you're bullshitting, Bill Black? Regulatory changes at FinCEN, I'd probably arrest half of them for fraud. Because I'm going to tell you something. The money laundering is the subprime mortgage market. The money laundering is the predatory foreclosures. That's how they're accomplishing hooking them and selling them and funding them and then screwing them. How about the screw them, Bill Black? Let's talk about the screw them. And the rip them off. How about the rip them off, Bill Black? Let's discuss that with all your friends like Richard Bowen and Mike Winston and John O'Brien and Jeff Thigpen and Martha Cloakley, and we'll drag old Alberto Gonzalez. Let's drag his little freaking ass back into this discussion. Alberto Gonzalez. And the whole regulatory scheme over there at Bill Black's Justice Department. What in the hell are we doing shielding and covering up the fact that the subprime mortgage markets, the predatory subprime mortgage markets, are a major method of operation in perpetrating the largest money laundering operations in human history? Yeah, presto changeo, dirty money, fresh and clean real estate repossession, predatory foreclosure, subprime predatory foreclosure. Hook 'em, fund 'em, sell 'em, and then screw 'em, right, Bill Black? And on a closing note, ladies and gentlemen, I want to point something out here. This giant crime spree, this giant robbery of humanity on planet Earth, they've got the best bar card lawyers you can imagine right in their pockets. They pay them billions of dollars to run their financial schemes. The bar cards. You take a look at the lawyers around Jamie Dimon. Jamie Dimon. Take a look at the lawyers that represent that stinking slob. And all the other ones in the biz. All the other ones in the biz, from Lehman Brothers to the Western banks. Westgate Investment, Purple Capital, the old Rita Lababetti Group, RLG Holdings. Right, RLG, the owners of the Western banks in Houston, Texas. The land scammers, Wildcat, Phantom, Ghost, Paper, the old Paper Land Con. Let's talk about that one. Eric Vaughn, the Paper Land Cons with Patrick S. Lovell and Adam Bronfman of the Seagram's alcohol fortune. The Seagram's alcohol fortune. Adam Bronfman. Let's talk about the real con. The real con is that FinCEN is a goddamned joke. Donald J. Trump. Yep. People need to understand something about old Judson. Judson Witham, write it down on your tablets there, is when I started blowing the whistle on all the land deals in Houston, Texas. Hell, they were all over the country, from Florida to Alaska, from Hawaii to Maine, Chicago, Austin, New Orleans, Atlanta, Birmingham, all over the East Coast, from the Poconos down to, what they call that there, Florida. From the Poconos to Florida to Alabama, over to freaking, Utah and Idaho and Oregon, all over the country. Massive real estate swindles and schemes. Now, Michael Winston and Richard Bowen and Jeff Thigpen and John O'Brien and Professor Bill Black. What did Schwecker face? Poor old Schwecker. He did everything he could. Schwecker did. This is my commentary for the regulatory changes over at FinCEN. Anybody caught trying to attack and shut down and burn down the house of a civilian whistleblower should spend the rest of their lives in prison. And some of the so-called regulators should be immediately arrested and face treason charges against the people of the United States for this great big con the regulators have been pulling on the American people. And you heard that correctly. The con. The great big stinking con that the regulators have been pulling. Tell them, Bill Black, what Schwecker really faced. An incestuous, inside whitewashing cover-up of massive amounts of stolen money being funneled to the GOP and to the ultra-right-wing conservatives of the Republican mafia. The Democrat and Republican mafia. Like Nancy Pelosi and Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. I can go all day long. From the Bushes to the Clintons to the Bakers. Jimmy Baker III. What did Schwecker face? Oh, he didn't want to bump into the CIA. Yeah, that's right. And the Iran-Contra and the Charlie Wilson's war that raged. It was out of control. It had gone wild in Houston, Texas, right in the middle of their savings and loan and bank robbery marathon. Right smack dab in the middle of the Galleria Hotel with Oliver North and Richard Secord. And the Bushes and the Clintons over there at the Houstonian Estates in old uptown Houston. Tell them, Patrick Lovell, you know where I'm talking about, there in Lamar Terrace there with the Khashoggis and the Gabanafars. Right there in Houston, Texas, where they were running Charlie Wilson's war with Joanna King and James Baker III. Right, James Baker of Baker and Botts? Yeah. What kind of regulatory changes do we need in the United States? Well, we don't need people like Donald J. Trump involved in money laundering operations with the world's crookedest banks. With the Clintons and the Bushes and Barack Obama involved. They all took their payoff. Barack Obama's living out there on Cape Cod. And what, a $13 million home? $13 million for 8 years in the White House. I wonder how he came up with that kind of money. I don't know. Let's ask Eric Schneiderman, the Attorney General of the state of New York. You know, the Financial Fraud Investigation Task Force. Ho, 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 ha, 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 laugh out loud. The Financial Investigation Task Force and the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau. What a bunch of what a farce. It's a farce, ladies and gentlemen. All these regulatory groups have done nothing but cover up the largest thefts in the history of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave it right there. All the links and information you could possibly ever dream of having access to are listed below. And, you know, this is a message to Donald Trump and William Barr. You got all this freaking distraction going on, the masters of distraction. And you got everybody off balance and looking over here and looking over there, and you got everybody, facing being locked up in their home and, ordered to wear masks, and you got people getting sick all over the place. Why don't you fix your damn sewers? Why don't you fix the giant, massive sewage debacle that's all over the United States, just like with what's going on in Wuhan, China, in Latin America, and all over Europe? The great, big, giant sewage fiasco. The sewage fiasco is as filthy, rotten, and dirty as all these financial crimes. And Hillary and Bill Clinton and the Bushes and the Obamas and Eric Holder and Meese and John Ashcroft and the whole damn bunch of you. What a pile of puke. From William Weld to William Webster, the whole pile of you. And you know something, on a parting shot here, Trey Gowdy, down there to Nelson and Mullins. Trey Gowdy, you ain't nothing but a scam artist. Trey Gowdy of Nelson and Mullins. What a stinking scam. And Deutsche Bank and Credit Suisse and JP Morgan are cooperating with all these financial investigations into their money laundering? Yeah, they're cooperating all right. I'll bet you they're greasing the palms of more U.S. government investigators than you can possibly imagine. Bill Black, Professor William K. Black. Let's tell the whole story about the whole con.